Dan Bidondi reporting for TruthRadioShow.com. Today's December 25th, 2018, and reporting on something that happened back in December 14th of 2018. Now, this just caught my eye. Actually, a friend of mine who works in the area just told me about it a little while ago, and I looked into this, and I'm like, wow, yet another cover-up in the city of Providence in the state of Rhode Island here, another cover-up, which is common here in the state of Rhode Island. There's a lot of corruption here. But anyway, this relates to something that happened in 2010. Before I get to that, I want to show you what happened. Here we go. Oh, on December 14th here, 2 bodies were pulled from the Providence River. Now, at the time, they were doing an investigation to see what happened. And again, 2 bodies were pulled out of the river. And they said no further details. And said that deaths do not appear suspicious. Now, this ain't funny, but it is. Okay, it's not the incident that's funny, but what's funny about it is because they're reporting this as these deaths do not appear suspicious. Now, later on, 4 days later, they identified and released the names of the men who they found. Now, again, I have a friend who works in the area that's seen the whole thing happen. So, December 18th, they reported WPRI Channel 12 in Rhode Island. Police identified men found and dead in the Providence River. Now, this is the names of the men that were found, identified, and according to police, workers removing debris from the Fox Point Hurricane Barrier found one of the bodies around noon Friday and contacted authorities. Now, this is what my friend told me too. He actually thought it was a piece of styrofoam he went down to pull out of the water, but it was actual body attached to another body. But this is what the media is not telling you, or the city officials. They're not telling you the truth of what really happened here. And police said they discovered a second body while retrieving the first one from the water. But yet, the police said the deaths do not appear suspicious at this time again. And the state's medical examiner's office is performing autopsies on the 2 men to determine the cause of their deaths. Gee, found dead in the river. I wonder what the cause of death is. But yet, they said these deaths do not appear suspicious at the time. But yet, what I'm about to disclose to you, which was not reported in the media, and what really happened was, and here's why these deaths are suspicious, okay? Because these 2 bodies pulled from the water, when again, one of the guys thought it was a piece of debris, and he went to pull it out of the water. Well, both men, dressed, very well in the 40s there. Okay, both men had their hands tied behind their back, both of them tied together. So they basically were standing back to back with their hands tied behind their backs, tied together. So, and pulled out of the water. So, yet city officials did not disclose that to the public, did not tell you the truth what happened, but yet police said the deaths do not appear suspicious at this time. Now, I don't know if they want to raise alarms here in Rhode Island to let people know, but you know what? The press has the right to know. The people have a right to know. And you shame on the media for not bringing this up, not questioning the authorities at the press conference. And now it is the authorities' obligations to answer the press. That's what they get paid for. They're city officials. They get paid, and they have to disclose the truth to the public, regardless of what's going on. But these men were murdered, okay? People don't just tie their hands behind their backs, tied to each other, especially grown men that happen to fall into the river and drown, okay? There's a lot more going on here. And basically, there's a cover-up going on here, and this is definitely murder. But yet, again, there's nothing to see here. It does not appear suspicious at this time. Yeah, it doesn't appear suspicious when 2 men are tied together, back to back, with their hands tied behind their backs, found dead in the river. But, no, nothing suspicious, nothing to see here. Yet another cover-up here in the state of Rhode Island, and this kind of reminds me of an investigation we've been on for about 8 years now, going on 9. A friend of ours, well, I know the family, and this kid here, Gregory Hart, back in 2010, November 2nd, basically this kid, Gregory Hart, was from Massachusetts here, Dedham, Massachusetts, visiting some friends here in Providence, Rhode Island. And here's the story what happened, and I'm going to skim through it quick, and if people want to check it out, the Footprints River's Edge, and that's the URL for it, but I want people to actually go read this, and this is what happened. Gregory Hart, 23-year-old kid, was visiting the Red Room Tavern at One Fox Place in Providence, Rhode Island, about 1:21 a.m. Hart spoke on the phone with his friend Will, and I guess his girlfriend was there as well that night, celebrating a new job. But anyway, there was some altercation that took place at this bar. I'm going to show you what the bar is. This is the Red Room on 1 Fox Place in Providence, Rhode Island. And there was an altercation about 1 o'clock in the morning. Something happened at the bar. And instead of the police getting called, the police weren't called, but yeah, some altercation happened. Well, anyway, his friend and his girlfriend thought Gregory Hart went, just took off and went to the IHOP, the International House of Pancakes up the street. And all of a sudden he came up missing, and there was a search for Gregory Hart, and come to find out he was found dead in the Providence River, and ice cold Providence River at that. Now here's the official report that nothing to see here. Don't worry about it. Just go home and don't ask questions. This is exactly what Providence city officials do, thinking the public is stupid. And it's not a coincidence that a police officer owns this bar. Oh, gee, wonder what happened. And not a coincidence that right across the street used to be the 911 building where one of my friends used to do video surveillance work on that building. And it happened to be just that day that the video cameras were not working, and several video cameras had the bar in view. But just that day, for some reason, the video cameras were not working. How coincidental. But anyway, on March 23rd, 2010 here, the medical examiner announced that Hart had been highly intoxicated. The blood alcohol level was high, basically saying there was more than 0.25, more than 3 times the legal limit. So regardless, he took off, and his friends thought he went to the International House of Pancakes because there was an altercation that took place at the bar, and again, no police were called. And when Hart was found, and they believed, they said that there was no foul play involved here. And they did the whole autopsy on Hart's body. Now, this is the crazy part. They said he was intoxicated right here. He was intoxicated, could have memory blackouts. They don't know the facts, okay? This is what the examiner put out, that he had poor judgment, impaired reactions, loss of balance. But this is the railing, okay? They said this is what happened. He was intoxicated, and anybody could go down here to the Providence River area. Now there's a fence, okay? This fence here is about a little over 3 feet tall, maybe almost 4. Okay, and everybody could go down here and see. I was down there myself, okay? And where the place was where he supposedly went over the railing. Now, they said he tripped over. Now, mind you, unless this guy is like 12 feet tall, okay? He happened to trip over this railing, and from the railing point to the river was about 10 feet of grass. So he happened to trip over the railing and just roll 10 feet or whatever, then into the river, then 1 mile down the river, and they said this was an accidental death. Now, here's the crazy part about this. Now, if that was believable, if you believe that, which is highly untrue, I mean, you could go down there yourself and ask yourself, could you actually trip over something like this? It's insane. It doesn't make sense. But here's what they say. Okay, the Hart's family had numerous, basically they did a whole autopsy report. Come to find out that Gregory Hart had a broken cheekbone, a broken jaw, broken eye socket, a chipped tooth, cuts on his lips and knuckles, injuries to his palm and bruises on both legs in the same places. And yet they say it was nothing to see here, nothing suspicious involved with this. He just tripped over this railing right here. That's all he did, and fell and drowned to the river because he was drunk and impaired. But yet, somehow, him, tripping over a 4-foot railing, 3.5 feet railing, onto grass, rolling into a river, somehow he ends up with all these broken jaw, the broken sockets and whatnot, and that's an indication of a fight, or he got beat up and murdered and tossed into a river. But yet, they want to rule this as no suspicious activity. And again, the Providence police say, the medical examiner says that there were no signs of foul play. Not at all, because somebody, a guy that's like less than 6 feet tall happens to trip over a 3.5-foot barrier, roll 10 feet into the, into the grass, into the river, somehow break his cheekbone, somehow break his jaw, leg injuries and everything else, all that, and found dead in the river. But yet another cover-up here in the state of Rhode Island, And again, back to current times here, 2 more bodies pulled from, this time, the Providence River. And yeah, this is disgusting, folks. And they say, oh, there's nothing to see here all the time. No suspicious activity, nothing to see here. It's like a few years ago down at one of the state beaches, an explosion took place in the sand. And the state officials said, well, we don't know what it is, but the beach is safe to go back on. So how do you know if it's safe if you don't know what it is? Typical incompetence in the state of Rhode Island. City officials lying out their asses. And shame on the mainstream media here in Rhode Island for not asking the real questions, not doing their job as reporters. Especially in Channel 12, they have this famous reporter they have here in Rhode Island. He's supposed to be this great investigative reporter, Tim White. Where is he on this? Where are the I-team and everything else on things like this? But yeah, this don't appear suspicious. 2 men, grown men, with their arms tied behind their backs, drowned in the river. And a kid from Massachusetts happens to go into this club, owned by a police officer. Video camera surveillance across the street. And let me see if I could actually go across the street. Because right across here used to be the 911 building here. A friend of mine worked on the building, and they had cameras all over the place here, video surveillance, that had this whole club in this whole area in full view. But happened to be, just that night, those cameras weren't working. Oh, what a coincidence. Cop owning this place, and all of a sudden, it's not reported as, and no fights, no altercations are reported. Then the other part of this, about this too, they said even though after he was ruled dead, whatever, his cell phone was, come to find out, was used after he had already gone missing and after he was already dead. So somebody had his phone. Somebody used his phone and dumped it into the river, whatever happened. But the whole report's in here. I mean, the whole story with the official police report. And again, you know, it's crazy. It really is. And that's a URL. Just type in Google it, footprints at River's Edge, and type in Gregory Hart. You'll see what I'm talking about. And Google, and again, you can watch these stories too. The bodies being pulled from Providence River, and how much corruption in the state of Rhode Island. You know, we got Providence has got a criminal mayor. We got a criminal governor here in the state of Rhode Island, and Rhode Island is definitely the small state in the union with the biggest corruption in the union. And this is Dan Bidondi for TruthRadioShow.com. God bless. Declaring war on the New World Order. TruthRadioShow.com.